Is there something lovable in a microorganism? Especially today, when one of their kind, the virus, wreaked havoc in this world. So do you think we can define love by comparing this to a microorganism? Well, it's time to spend a little time with God to see the other side of the microorganisms which we consider our greatest adversary today.
Wake up! Wake up! Wake up, wake up, it's time to rise and sing the praise of Jesus. Hallelujah, hallelujah. It's time to rise, to sing, to shout, to bring him all your heart. He'll do the bigger part, if you will only make a start. It's time to give him all your heart, and only you can make a start. Wake up!
How big can be one's faith for him or her to be called a true patriot of God through the demonstration of faith? Well, this is the central thought of our devotional this moment. It's now time for the 7 Minutes with God Inspirational Devotional. You will be joined again by your online inspirational evangelist, Brother Noy Gonzaga. And now, let us meet God. Our verse for adoration is found in Matthew 17:20, and it says, "If you have faith even as small as a mustard seed, you can say to the mountains, 'Move from here to there,' and it will move. Nothing would be impossible." Friends, our verse is quite confusing as we all assume that all human beings, especially those who have Christian backgrounds, surely have more than 80 to 90% faith within them, and that makes them, or us, very godly people. However, why will God say faith as big as a mustard seed? The mustard seed is very small. There could have been a misleading logic in this verse that we need to uncover. Well, let us try to analyze. Can man think of his life continuously in a godly and divine perspective without having a portion of pride in some of those parts? Often, trying to exalt self over God in our lives. Take for instance Nebuchadnezzar. He knows that there was a great God, but in one of those times when he viewed his life, he forget about God and exalt himself, which led to his great punishment of becoming a literal beast. Now the question is, how long can we humans think in a godly perspective without interference of pride, selfishness, self-exaltations, and even gossip regarding others? Well, maybe 10 seconds will be very long already. What? Yes, 10 seconds. That is why God asked us, can we have a faith as big as a mustard seed? One that is so small but very genuine. Well, we know that it is quite difficult, but with God, there is always assurance that we can always do everything, especially if God will be our partner and guide. Another point to ponder is, how long can we pray with our eyes closed? Well, many of us would say that the closing of the eyes is not a religious requirement. Well, let us try to analyze again. If you are praying and a woman passed by with very skimpy clothing, with very daring and emphasized neckline, and very short miniskirt, will you be a saint to tell the world that you will not be distracted to comment on that physical appearance? Well, if we will just be honest, the answer is no. For the males, they will be maliciously inclined to that. For the females, they will be angry and they will insult that individual. That is why we should close our eyes. Now the question is, why not close your eyes? That is a deterrent to being swayed from the purpose of prayer, which is to connect with God. Closing of the eyes is just a small leap of faith. But even in those few seconds that we pray, we cannot even close our eyes continuously, but still peep to see the surroundings, at the middle of a prayer, especially a lengthy prayer. So God is making a great point when he said, mustard seed like faith. Even just in a short prayer, we can commit our lives to him. But without disruption and for assurance with a closed eyes that augment sincerity of faith, can we do the closing of eyes for God? It's a leap of faith. Well, this leads me now to the purposes of the little and small things that God has created. Even the most undesirable bacteria and other microorganisms in their state of being called dirty and destructive to humanity, they have a function in life. And don't forget, God created them. And that function, that is that they will decompose the dead and return the state of the dead to the soil for them to be useful, and that they will not create sickness because they stay without decomposition. Now we have seen how bacteria are evolving with a purpose. Imagine, if there's a dead person and there are no bacteria, then everywhere in this world there will be dead cadavers. Now we know we need the bacteria to decompose them. Today, we are still facing a great malady, a great chaotic pandemic, a great turmoil due to this health-related holocaust that distorted, disturbed, damaged, divided, and disintegrated humanity. Well, this is the COVID-19 virus. However, God will never permit the existence of one organism, or shall we say microorganism, if there will be no better and greater purpose for its existence. Now, it's hard to believe that God created the virus because it has a better purpose to serve in the future. Can you believe that? And now the virus is wreaking havoc to humanity? Well, for centuries, people believed that bacteria is the most useless organism in the planet. But decades later, they found out that bacteria help in the completion of the food chain, which brings normality to the cycle of life in Earth. It's even a source of fertilization because it decomposes a cadaver, and the product of this is a good cycle of fertilizers. Added to that, our human body needs nitrogen-fixing bacteria for us to have digestion and consumption of food. Or else, without them, our food in the stomach will just pile up there without utilization. So the apple you ate 3 days ago will still be there. And then you eat another apple now, there will be 2 apples in your stomach already. Well, that is if there are no nitrogen-fixing bacteria. Now, looking at the brighter side, 10 years from now or even a few years from now, will it be possible that the next generation will also find out that there are actually good functions or better reasons for the existence of COVID-19 and its causative agent, SARS-CoV virus? Well, that is why we cannot fathom the mind of God. I will not be amazed if 10 years from now, they will find something good from COVID, something that resulted in positivity from COVID. Today, one thing is not so good in human judgment, and that is because COVID caused our problems today. But tomorrow, God will have a better explanation why the things we called not good is actually very good. All we need to do is have the genuine and unperturbed mustard-like faith in God, even just as small as a microorganism, and God will be happy to uncover the uniqueness of nature in our eyes. The reason why there should be a pandemic, and we will understand it by heart. Before we will end our devotional, let me share with you a poetry I have composed comparing love with the microorganisms. I hope you will see the creativity of God's creation and the uniqueness of God's logic in this work of literary art. We'll talk about microorganisms in this poetry. Poetry dedication. I personally dedicate this original poetry To the people who are fighting the greatest microbial pandemic of all times? Yes, these may be small organisms, but they can cause our lives to change. And it may even redefine the avenues of our future. It's about time that we address these little organisms, little microbes, so that when we can still have control with our lives, we will use it for God's work and betterment here on earth. Microbial Love by neophyte poet Rose Gonzaga. First stanza. Love is like a microbial entity. It might be small but full of vanity, yet it gathers to framed enormity, unexplained as versioned in parity. Second stanza. Love is like a lens-aided bacteria, small yet flaws an infectious euphoria, then colonized to squeeze the atria, leading to aimless beads of chorea. Third stanza. Love is like a fairly mounted fungi, scattering at a rapid rate so high. Come and go, there can never be a tie, for when it comes, it never say goodbye. Fourth stanza. Love is like a dangerous virus. It has no medication to choose. But when in anchorage, it can get loose. When it's gone, it's gone. When it's fused, it fuses. Fifth stanza. Love is like an effective parasite, for it will just depend on others' might, looking for support in every fright, clinging for leverage all day and night. Sixth stanza. Love is like a shivering nematode. Its length is always a part of its load, but when cut, its dear life will then explode, for each single end is a living node. Seventh stanza. Love is truly a very vague microbe. Its tendencies are patterned like a lobe, with choices as abundant as a globe. Truly, love is a microbe in a robe. God is not actually asking too much from us, dear friends. He just wants us to have sincerity and faith that is as big as a mustard seed. Meaning, not so great. Just what is needed for us to see that there is a God. That is why in these present times, let us not blame God for nature's greatest destruction of mankind, which is the pandemic. Let us have that genuine faith as big as a mustard seed. And one day soon we will ask Jesus, what is the reason for this health turbulence that happened to humanity? For sure, God can give a reason that will justify and even prove the things that are happening today as part of the unexplainable great love that He has for humanity. If we still ask the questions, why do people need to die today? Why do people need to suffer today? Why do people need to leave their families today? Friends, it's about time that we need to look for that mustard seed in our heart, because it is the faith that can move these mountains of doubt that we have to the great God who has never failed us before, and He will never fail us now, and He will never fail us even in the future. This has been your 7 Minutes with God. Just a mustard in the great amount of time that you have in your life for a day to worship God. God bless everyone.
Wake up, it's time to rise and sing the praise of Jesus. Hallelujah, hallelujah. It's time to rise, to sing, to shout, to bring Him all your heart. He'll do the bigger part if you will only make a start. Wake up!